Good morning, mademoiselle.
Morning.
What are we doing today?
Well, we thought that we would tell you our scariest moments on board because it's one of the most common questions we get asked, and we just really wanted to film it all, get it all out there.
There's some pretty horrific moments in there.
There really is. I'm not looking forward to reliving all of this in my head, but first, really need to clean up the house because it is a pigsty and I need a cup of tea. So once we do that, we can sit down and have a chat to you guys.
To talk about my grief. Oh my Lord, I never cried, but I knew you were a thief. The one made from mud and light.
We just tried to move anchorages and it started bucketing down with rain. No visibility at all.
Picked up the anchor and then I had to just turn around and drop it back down where I came from.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of nowhere right now, and we thought it was the perfect time to tell you our scary stories while it's raining. Alright, so Crete to Malta, you want to start?
There were prevailing winds against us. We were trying to leave the Mediterranean to get to the Caribbean because it was starting to get cold.
And it was October 2014.
I was waiting for the weather pattern to change so that we could head against the prevailing wind rather than tacking for 800 miles.
And we've been wanting to leave Crete for 2 weeks, and in that time there was a gnarly blow and it was 40 to 50 knots.
Yep.
And we couldn't get a spot in the marina. Us and another boat were forced to have to tie off to this concrete wall outside the marina where you were still getting surge. So there was a big rock wall protecting us, but you were still getting surge. We'd snapped a few lines of ours. The other guy had popped a few fenders, so we swapped some of our good fenders for one of his lines to help us stay put.
These huge blows were what was changing the prevailing wind. So I was keeping my eye on them and waiting to pick a path.
But that was the scariest night sail I've ever had, and it was my first night sail and it was Riley's second ever.
The first 18 hours were okay, and then this system caught up with us. Fortunately it was all tailwind, but it built and it built and it built, and I reeved the main, put it away, and then we had full head sail, not much head sail, and then like T-towel or T-shirt out, which I never had to replicate that again. And it was quite early days. It seared into my mind. I know you're probably thinking, oh, you know, they were
young and inexperienced,
and that's why they think that it was so bad, but it was so bad.
We've sailed a long way now, and we can tell what was bad and what's not looking back. Out of the whole 4 years I've been sailing, that was the worst night sail ever. The
thing that I remember the most were the waves just making the night sky just completely disappear. So I don't know how big they... No, it did, because there was a canopy.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
So they weren't coming over my head and then landing in front of us.
Just had to clarify.
So there was the canopy, which was pretty high, and the gap between the horizon and the canopy was just vanishing. And I was just thinking that I've got almost no sail out. What do I do next? And we were surfing down waves, and the sky was disappearing.
The swell is the worst part.
Oh my god.
In the Mediterranean, the swell is really bad because it's a smaller area, so the waves are short and steep.
That's right.
And
less
close
fetch.
Together.
Yeah.
Whereas out in the open ocean, they're spread apart and
punchy.
Yeah. So the swell was hectic, and down below, meanwhile, I'm curled up in the starboard aft cabin in a ball, getting thrown around on the bed, just rolling around, listening out for noises. The whistling of the rigging was just so loud. I could barely hear Riley even when he was yelling to me through the little porthole there. Neither of us slept that night, and I remember just hearing Riley's voice screaming out my name. I wasn't asleep, but every now and then I was so tired and exhausted, I swear I could hear his voice. And so I would shoot up and yell out Riley's name, and Riley's like, Elayna, I'm fine, like I'm just here. And I'm like, okay. So
I don't think we got out of the Mediterranean until mid-January, and I spent those months on passage, in the back, on the side. So that's where I'd eat, that's where I'd sleep, that's where
you lived there?
Yeah, I wouldn't leave because Elayna was new, I didn't trust the boat, I had no faith in anything.
And you didn't want to leave me outside anyway, like, It's
No.
like you wanted me to be happy and...
Yeah.
And on that trip, so yeah, the weather cleared after, 24 hours? Was it 2 days?
It was at least 2 days. The really intense patch was only a day.
And then the second day we got those water spirals, which was our first encounter with those. None of them come close, but it was so interesting to see. They were everywhere. And then, all of a sudden there was no wind. We got 2 tuna. We had to motor and it was beautiful sunsets, and we'd just forgotten about the hell that had just broke loose the previous few days.
Yeah.
It's funny how that can happen, hey? It was really the worst 24 hours, and then...
You read about that sort of stuff in Homer's Odyssey, Elayna.
That was a hell of a trip.
So this is going to be my scariest time. We were in the Atlantic Ocean, and there was 3 beds on the old boat. Jack was taking the starboard aft. Elayna and I would sleep in either the forward or the port aft, depending on what was the most comfortable. Because we were getting thrown around so much all the time that we would just sleep wherever was sort of most comfortable. You were on watch, I was asleep, and I woke up and I came upstairs and Elayna wasn't there. So I'd come from the forward cabin, I went downstairs. I could see Jack lying there, and I looked into the other room, and you weren't there. Then I went into the bathroom, the forward bathroom, and she wasn't there. Then I ran back upstairs and was looking around and she wasn't there. And I didn't run out onto the forward deck, but I really made sure that she wasn't forward either, which was just going to be amazingly unlikely. So she wasn't there either. At this stage, I'm thinking, she's gone overboard. And I really, really thought that. And I came running down below, and she had been in the other bathroom, which no one was ever in because it was broken, it stank.
Yeah, there was one bathroom we never used. And
Yeah.
I was using that one because it was also the one that had the best lighting, and I was plucking my eyebrows.
So the light in the forward one had gone out, and I never would have thought that she was in there because that one we just never used, but apparently she was because it had the light. Anyway, as I came downstairs, I was just about to... I had my hands there to just scream out Elayna, and she walked out of that
Just
other
at that second.
bathroom, and I grabbed her and we both fell on the floor, and you could just see the state I was in, and you were like, what's wrong? I think she might have thought we'd hit her.
Nah, I knew what happened. As soon as I walked out and you saw me, your eyes were red, and when your surprise when you saw me was enough to tell me that you thought I was gone, and I was in that bathroom for half an hour plucking my eyebrows.
Don't dare me.
And I saw the look on his face, and we just grabbed each other, and he pulled me to the ground, and we just held each other for so long. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. Yeah. That was really
That was a shocker. That's what we thought. That's what I thought had happened. This is not a feel-good film.
No.
You should probably turn off.
These are our worst moments out of 4 years. There's 5 bad moments. So This story has 2 very different perspectives. This is the pirate scare that we had going from Panama to the Galapagos, which was another 5-day trip.
Mm-hmm.
We were 2 days out from the Galapagos Islands, and at 1 a.m, a very medium-sized fishing vessel approached us at high speed with a huge spotlight. They were honing in on us, no radio call, no nothing. And I woke up to Riley, I had earbuds in, and I woke up to Riley saying, Elayna, go and hide, Elayna, go and hide. And
the pirate hole.
In the pirate hole. So we have a designated place where I'll hide if, there was a bunch of people to board our ship.
Oh my God.
Which is Riley's, that was your rule. You really wanted me to be safe. That's a whole nother story. So the plan was I was going to hide, and when I woke up, I just said, are you serious? And he said yes, and I just knew from his face he was serious, and I couldn't help but look before I hid. I had to see what was going on, and that's when I saw the big vessel with the spotlight, and I was like, shit, this is for real. I went in my hidey hole with a bunch of canned food in pitch black, and we were motoring at the time. There was no wind, so I couldn't hear anything. Shut the doors. Anyway, you continue.
They were just fishermen, so it was okay. But between them coming in hot, and then they were saying, come here, come here. You might have seen the episode, it was called What Would You Do in
case of a pirate attack at sea.
That's it. And comer, which is food in Spanish. So I ran downstairs, and I've had lots of people really, really laughing about the fact that I was just winging cans of food at them.
They were telling Riley to slow down.
On.
So luckily they were only fishermen, but I was just listening out for any noise, and I was expecting to hear a gunshot or something like that, and all I could hear was the loud sound of the engine. And then when I heard Riley say, "Elayna, come out," I thought that they had boarded our vessel and were telling Riley to tell me to come out. So it took me a while to open the little hatch, and I opened it and I peeked out, and Riley was like, it's okay, they were just fishermen. But that rocked us. That was really scary. Well, I think it rocked me more just thinking that you were gone. And I'd be stuck on a boat, and they would have taken our boat, and I would have been like sailing to some country where the boat would be sold, and I'd be eating canned food in there for months. Like, honestly, I thought I'd be in that hole forever. Right, this is the time that Riley got nosed by a shark. This was in the Tuamotus in 2016.
I flatly refute that I was concerned at all.
It was hilarious.
Okay, so there's Meltemi in Greece, and we are anchored. The anchor's been fine for a few days. Along comes my mate,
George,
who is a good mate of mine now. He drops his anchor on ours, reverses back, fouls our anchor, and then we're all tangled. We're heading out to sea, and it is a disaster.
We've woken up to the sounds of a very loud horn. Turn around, I run out the back of the boat, see a super yacht with a crew of 8 at the front of their super yacht with the horn, and they're saying, like, they're pointing, and we're dragging into their boat. So I just yell out to Riley, "Riley, we're dragging." Riley comes outside.
And that's when I woke up.
Yeah. I don't even think I had knickers on. I had a sarong and no knickers. Wind was blowing everywhere. I didn't care. I just had to deal with it.
Maybe that was
So
George's
funny.
plan.
So George, who had anchored on top of our anchor, decides to motor forwards, and he manages to catch our anchor chain around his propeller. So his boat is out. You know,
He's only got one engine.
Riley was preparing the dinghy. I was at the helm, and I just whacked it into reverse, and I managed to pull George's boat and myself out of the way of the super yacht. I'm not kidding, it was a metre, and we would have hit their super yacht. Not that I really cared in that situation. I guess I did.
I think we should link this video up as well.
Yeah, we'll link the video up here. So we managed to get out of the way of the super yacht. We continued drifting out to sea. In the meantime, Riley jumped in the dinghy, motored over to his boat, jumped in the water to try and free our anchor chain from his prop. Couldn't do it. He got a few pretty bad cuts on his shoulders.
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah. So yeah, we were attached to this other boat, and we floated out to sea for an hour and a half. Nearly ran into a sea container ship. We'd called for help. It was still an hour and a half of I was at the helm non-stop. Kayla was feeding me water. Luckily Daniel was there with the camera to film all of this, and I was just crying. Riley was on the other boat bleeding. All those crew were crying because we couldn't do anything, and the sea was getting really rough the further we drifted out. Anyway, a little fishing boat came.
The reason that we didn't drop all of our anchor and go around in front of his boat and set up tow lines and all that sort of stuff was because we did get hold of the customs and immigration, who were in charge of that sort of rescue, I guess, and they sent out the fishing vessel. So by the time we were in the position where we knew that we couldn't get the chain off the propeller, and I'd got back on board and we were starting to think about doing all that sort of stuff, the fishing boat was on its way out, and then we got towed back in from them.
There were so many times I wanted to crumble. Like, I couldn't believe that Riley couldn't get us out of this situation, because he's always, I explain in that video as well, he can get us out of some really sticky situations, and this one wasn't. He couldn't get us out of this one, and I had to be strong, and I had to be the captain of our boat for that, 3 hours total. And I was just putting on a really brave face, but as soon as Riley got back onto our boat, he managed to dinghy over. I just melted, didn't I? I felt like I could just relax for a second. I was like, please help me. But we did it, and there was only a few scratches on the boat, and we glued you up.
Broken neck one, which I think you'll probably want to talk about the most as well.
So on our Atlantic crossing, the most recent Atlantic crossing, beginning of the year, maybe 3 or 4 days, having left the Canary Islands with the wind behind us, we had quite strong wind at this stage. I think most people know now that Riley broke his neck 5 years ago, so it was a combination of a wave, Riley trying to sit down, and he sat down on the desk, which propelled his body forwards, and he hit his head on the office chair that was backed up against this table, which is a solid table.
Unlucky.
So that compact compressed his neck and it pinched the same nerve that he'd damaged when he first broke his neck, which leads to his left arm. And immediately he just started screaming like, I've hurt my neck, I've hurt my neck. And he fell to the ground. And oh my God, I hate even talking about this.
This is
the worst one.
So I thought that I'd broken my neck again. I couldn't move my left arm. Then, so I told Elayna and lay down on the floor for a long time. And then I got the feeling back in my arm, and we sailed across the Atlantic and got an X-ray, and I was okay.
Yeah, let's start with that. But in the meantime, yeah, I made Riley lay there for as long as he could, and not move his neck. And then we considered our options, like turning around and going into the wind. I would have to sail by myself, and we'd have to tack into the wind for like a long way. Other option was to call for help, but it didn't seem necessary to send like emergency rescue all the way out there at the time, because you said the feeling came back and it felt different to when you first broke your neck.
Yep.
Which
and
still,
right.
And you were right, yes, but it was still, you know.
There were times when I thought that I was wrong.
I know, yeah. He thought he'd be okay.
I was starting to get better, and then I winched, and then the next day it was sore again. I don't think that any of this was covered in the videos, and then for a day and a half or 2 days, I personally thought that I had done serious damage, and I didn't tell Elayna on the crossing. I just sort of started doing less again, and you were like, then you sort of started figuring out.
And this experience, like I can't, you know, Riley's the one who was actually going through the pain and the wondering of.
Wasn't much pain, and no, I agree that it would be worse for you.
At least twice a day on that trip, I had the memories come back up and I would be in tears at least twice a day until we basically got there. I would just be sitting there.
This is true.
Honestly, it really, really, like, affected me.
It can't be undone.
And we're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. There's not many other things you can think of.
Alright, I think this movie should finish now.
It was really scary. That was my scariest moment ever.
Come on.
Okay.
It was your idea to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching.
No.
Give us a thumbs up.
Please give us a thumbs up for Riley's near broken.
Thumbs up for spinal cords.
Thanks guys, thanks for watching. For those of you who are patrons, I put an extra story up on our Patreon site, so go and check it out. It's about the time Riley got bunted by a shark, and it's pretty funny. He'll claim it wasn't one of his scariest moments, but it totally was, so go and check it out, and thanks for your support. Cool guys.
Raised myself above